With that, I yield 5 minutes. We haven't time yet. I yield 5 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Brown.
The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman from New York for yielding. And Mr. Speaker, as President Bush and his top military advisors implement the new plan for victory in Iraq, we must be united in a common goal of victory. And we should never forget that our enemy is listening to this debate, just as our troops are listening to every word of every member of this Congress. As many of my colleagues have done, I have personally visited Iraq. I have seen the progress and I have seen the good job that our brave men and women are doing for us and for the people of Iraq. We have achieved some major accomplishments in Iraq. Women are now able to vote in real elections for the first time in their lives. Iraqi citizens are now able to protest and let their opinions be heard in public, and Iraq is a self-governing nation free of tyranny. I was proud to sit down and share a meal with many soldiers from South Carolina's 1st District, and the question that many of our soldiers kept asking me was, why are none of the good stories making it back to the folks at home? Mr. Speaker, I think that many of us today are trying to share some of the good stories and recognize all of the positive things that our brave men and women in Iraq are doing for us. South Carolina's 1st District has a high proportion of active and retired military personnel and are directly impacted by the war in the Middle East. At the Charleston Air Force Base, the C-17 aircraft, they come and go at a direct link in the supply chain that assist our brave soldiers fighting for us in Iraq. At Force Protection in Latson, South Carolina, they continue to build the Buffalo and the Cougar vehicle that saves the lives of our soldiers against the mines and IED attacks every day. Last year on Memorial Day, in my capacity as chairman of the Veterans Affairs Subcommittee on Health, I was fortunate enough to be the guest speaker at the American Cemetery in Normandy, France, which overlooks Omaha Beach. Our brave soldiers during World War II were in France not to fight the French, but to fight the occupied Nazis. Today our soldiers are not in Iraq and Afghanistan to fight the citizens of those countries, but are there to fight the insurgents in Iraq and the Taliban in Afghanistan. In listening to the debate over the past few days, it reminds me of my visit and reading some of the names of the brave soldiers that fought our nation's war during World War II. Mr. Speaker, there are over 9,300 buried in Normandy. Those brave souls fought in a war against the forces of evil then, just as our soldiers in Iraq are fighting against the forces of evil today. What would have happened if Franklin Delano Roosevelt pulled our troops out of France after the casualties we took storming the beaches of Normandy? If Franklin Delano Roosevelt was alive today, what would he think of this debate, which empowers and energizes our enemies and demoralizes our brave fighting men and women? What would America have done if the Congress enacted a non-binding resolution to pull our troops out of France after D-Day? What kind of world would we be living in today? Iraq is directly tied to the future security of our nation, and consequently failure in Iraq is not an option. I do not believe that we have already lost in Iraq, but we will lose if we don't give the troops what they need to win. I remain hopeful that the Democrats and Republicans can unite around a new policy, clearly defining our troops' mission for the sake of our national security. Mr. Speaker, I support President Bush and his vision for the new strategy for victory in Iraq. I cannot in good faith support this resolution because it sends our soldiers the message that the United States Congress believes that they cannot succeed in their mission. It is much easier to complain while offering no real ideas or alternatives. This resolution is all bark and no bite. I will conclude with a quote of a good friend, that someone that I am proud to have as my constituent, Medal of Honor recipient and retired Major General James Livingston. And I quote, "Today we have a choice of fighting the enemy in Iraq. If we do not take them on in Iraq, then we will be forced to fight the enemy here on our homeland." Mr. Speaker, I strongly oppose this resolution, and I yield back the balance of my time.